Greetings, greetings. This is Dr. Williams, your superintendent, and this is your flipped board meeting for our flipped work session, actually, for the board meeting that's going to take place on February 11th at 5 p.m. at RB Hudson STEAM Academy. So you should have your materials, and the best way to work through this flipped session is, of course, to have either your hard copy or to look at this in assembly so that we can go through all of the materials together. Now, as always, I do ask that you please, as you're reviewing them, let me know if you have any specific questions, and that way we can either get them answered for you or add to what we'll be sharing at the actual board meeting. Either way is fine, but just if you would please help us out by making sure you've had an opportunity to review and let us know your questions. So getting started with our agenda, we do have our audit report, and this is of course our audit for the last fiscal year, and the auditors will be there to review it. And I think several of you were at the meeting where they had completed the audit and went over the findings, so that will be review for some of you, probably review for all of you, because I do think that information was shared in terms of the areas that we needed to work on. We did get a clean audit, but they will review the details in that audit report. And that will, of course, be followed by our financials, which also includes Budget Amendment 1. So take a look at that. And, of course, as always, if you have questions, you can feel free to reach out to Ms. Harris beforehand if that works for you, or you can let us know your questions so that we can get you answers either at the board meeting or before. And then the other issues, or I'm sorry, the other items with the financials are also included. We've got financial statements for December, the cash reconciliation for December, cash register, and the other fiscal documentation, which is of course the information that details our finances. At our board meeting, we will have several Team Selma celebrations. Our transportation department will be our first celebration, and we're excited that our transportation department scored excellence in school bus safety inspection for 2019 by having less than 10% major deficiencies in our school bus fleet. And according to Mr. Peterson, it's not a common occurrence for that to happen. So we're really proud of our bus drivers, and we are trying to get more bus drivers still. So definitely still recruiting for bus drivers, but we're very proud and want to show appreciation for our bus drivers at our Team Selma celebration. Also, we have National School Counselors Week, which is the week of February 3rd through the 7th. And we want to recognize all of our counselors for the hard work and dedication that they do. We've got Dr. Alice Jackson at Selma High, along with her counterpart, Miss Felicia Tinker, Miss Alice Thomas Ward at Payne and Kingston, Latasha Kimber McKinley at Knox and Meadowview, Dr. Wanda Young Low at Hudson, Mrs. Deborah Williams at The Clark, Miss Tara Burks at Hudson, and Miss Kesia Smith at School of Discovery. So we want to appreciate all of our guidance counselors in recognition of School Counselors Appreciation Week. And then we also want to thank our CTE teachers, and they will be in attendance at our board meeting as well. We have CTE teachers at School of Discovery, Hudson, and Selma High School, and so we will have those teachers there as well, because February is National CTE Awareness Month, and it's just a month for us to take time to really highlight the value that our career and technical education programs bring to our district. So we look forward to celebrating and meeting all of our CTE teachers as well. For our superintendent's report, we do have several items. Mr. Simmons is going to do a Cognia review, and you'll have some notes that are a part of that that just detail some of the information for that. The engagement review team will arrive on Sunday, March 15th, and they'll have some team time to work that evening, and then they will begin the review on Monday, March 16th. For that day, on that first day, teams of board members will meet with the reviewers at 9:15 on that day. And as of right now, we're planning to do that here in the boardroom, but if the location changes, we'll let you know. They'd like to interview Mrs. Obamanu and Dr. Miles together, Mrs. Hauser and Mrs. Wooten together, and then Mr. Moss singularly as the board president. So you'll be giving a list of the potential questions and some other information and details at the board meeting to help support you with that. On Tuesday, March 17th, the team will begin visiting schools, and they'll visit Selma High School, R.B. Hudson STEAM Academy, and School of Discovery in the morning, and then they'll visit Clark, Kingston, and Meadowview in the afternoon. And in the course of those visits, they will speak with teachers, the administrators, as well as our scholars at those schools. And going back to the first day on that Monday, in addition to your interviews, the team will also interview community partners, groups of parents. They'll interview me, and they'll also interview central office teams and the principals of the schools that aren't being visited. And that morning will actually begin with me giving an overview of our district, much like what I did for the State of Our Schools presentation. The lead evaluator anticipates concluding prior to about 1 p.m. on Wednesday, March 18th. And so we'll definitely share any updates or any additional details as they become available. But the main thing is to keep in mind that on Monday, March 16th, we are asking that each of you be here or whichever location is designated for those 9:15 interviews with our Cognia engagement team. Right. Also part of the superintendent's report, our eSports team, along with Coach Lane, will be here. Now we're really excited to have an eSports team, and they're actually starting the spring season now. They're getting geared up for their spring season. The winter season ended already, and the scholars are actually going to share highlights of the season and just really share what it means to them to have access to something like eSports. It is a unique way for us to engage more of our scholars. So they did an impressive presentation at our STEAM in the Black Belt conference, and are very interested in sharing some updates with you all now that the first season has concluded and they're preparing for their second season. Also, I mentioned that this is CTE Awareness Month, and as part of that, I have asked Dr. Powell to also share some updates on CCR, on college and career readiness. And he has a PowerPoint, which I'm going to actually share some of the highlights of, which will, of course, allow him to more or less breeze through it, and ideally you can come with your questions or ask any questions prior to, and of course also let us know if there are areas where you would like more information. The program overview, he'll discuss the pathways, and you have this PowerPoint. Our pathways include Air Force, JROTC, Agri-Science, we've got Business Management and Administration, Health Science, Masonry, and several others that you're probably aware of, and maybe some that you're not. Our middle school CTE for grades 6 through 8 include career exploration as well as FBLA. He will also update you on our dual enrollment. We do have dual enrollment in several sites now, primarily at Wallace Community College. We have 54 dual enrolled scholars there. Troy University, 14. University of Alabama, Roll Tide, 3 dual enrollment students there. UAB has 8 dual enrollment scholars enrolled. And the great thing about diversifying and adding more opportunities and options is that it does give our scholars a space where if they're planning to attend one of those universities, they can go ahead and get a head start. And of course those credits will easily transfer since they're at the same school once they begin their undergrad program. And many of them may finish high school with a year or two of that undergrad already completed. Courses being taken include English, math, music appreciation, orientation to college, and various technical classes. He will also discuss the work that we're doing around ACT WorkKeys and military enlistment, which includes having access to the ASVAB. It's offered every 45 days. And he'll also talk about the work with Gear Up for ACT Prep and ACT Boot Camp. Advanced placement courses will be discussed, as well as the credentials. Second semester AP Computer Science is being taught at Selma High School, and we do have credentialing in a number of areas, including Microsoft, guest services, which is hospitality, the Air Force ROTC, and National Career Readiness Certification. We have a number of strong partnerships within our CTE and our college and career readiness programs. And so you've got the list in front of you. And of course, they include some local businesses as well as our local Chamber of Commerce and a number of colleges and universities. Upcoming events with our CCR program and some accolades also. We were represented at the Junior Leadership Development Conference. All of our areas were represented there. Hospitality tourism scholars participated in Alabama Bicentennial, excuse me. And then of course eSports fits very nicely within our college and career readiness and CTE programs. You met some of our scholars from our Air Force JRTC at our last board meeting, and we recognized them for the excellence that they achieved during their unit inspection. We've also had high performance in DECA. We've had chapter awards with FBLA and a number of other accolades that we're super excited about, including our 8th graders attending our Spring 2020 Career Discovery Expo in March. So great things happening around college and career readiness. Now, if there's something that you're curious about that's not covered in this, please let us know. If it's a question, we can again answer it ahead of time, or we can add it to the presentation so that it can be for public record during the board meeting. Our consent agenda includes the first read policies that you all received at our last board meeting. So I did not get any information about editing or making changes, so these do read the same as they did for the first read. If you do have a concern or a change, please let me know as soon as possible so that we can make any necessary adjustments. But otherwise, the consent agenda consists of those same policies from last month's board meeting. Also included is an AMSTI contract, and this is just our routine contract with AMSTI. And the PLC dates are listed from January through February for grades 3 through 12. And you can see in Assembly the specific dates for each grade span and the work that's taking place there. And the final thing within our consent agenda is a partnership agreement with Auburn University in Montgomery. And this is an agreement to for us to do dual enrollment, and also it details the per credit hour tuition, which is $100 per credit hour. And students will have full access to Auburn University and Montgomery supports with this. So please read that agreement. If there are any questions or concerns with it, let me know, and we will most certainly be prepared to address those. Under personnel, we will have a number of personnel matters, including a recommendation for certified and classified employees, as well as supplemental employment, resignation, and medical leave. So if you've got any questions about those items specifically, then by all means let me know, and we will get those answers for you as well. I sent you all an email, and you probably also received an email from Alabama Association of School Boards regarding a resolution opposing the school start date resolution. So this next item under new business is that resolution. And this is just urging our legislators to allow school calendar development to stay at the local level so that we have the ability to make decisions as to when we start school and what our school calendars look like. I believe you have seen the resolution already, and so I am asking that we adopt this resolution so that we can make a statement to our legislators that we do oppose the school start date legislation. Next, we have a first read for a policy on expenditures by the superintendent, and this was a result of conversations that we've had at a couple of board meetings. We do have a policy committee that met and discussed this policy, looked at other districts that have similar policies, and so forth. And if you look at it, basically the emphasis is on monies that are not budgeted and monies that are coming from our general fund. The policy reads, the potential policy reads, the board's approval shall be required before the commitment can be made where any proposed expenditure exceeds $55,000. And so if you'll read that entire proposed policy and let me know any questions with that. It's for a first read, so of course we'll have an opportunity to make any adjustments before it's presented for approval. We also have a first read for an employee qualifications and duties policy. And this one is a current policy, but if you'll look at the document, item H in red is new to this particular policy. Employees are required to report to work or to school functions in attire that is appropriate to their position and the nature and function that is in keeping with generally accepted standards of decorum and professionalism. So it is addressing employee dress, employee attire, and their fitness and readiness to work in their particular jobs. Now this is the policy, and Mr. Larkin did talk to Attorney Campbell and got some guidance from her. We did discuss during our policy committee having something that's more detailed. The details will come from the procedure, which we're going to work with all employees to ensure that we are getting some insights from them on what the procedure should look like and the specifics around this particular policy that will govern the day-to-day operations as it relates to employee attire. Next, we've got a promotion policy. And again, this policy does add some additional language to an existing policy, rather. If you'll look at the parts in red, you can see that this is addressing students being promoted from grade to grade on the basis of credit earned during the year or in summer programs or in such academic programs as may be approved or recognized by the board and in accordance with applicable law. Students who are eligible for promotion from grade to grade may nevertheless be retained by agreement of the parents and appropriate school officials. Students who have more than 20 unexcused absences in one school year will be given a FA, which is failure due to absence, unless extenuating circumstances exist as determined by the principal. And so the goal of this is to address the chronic absenteeism that we often see and the large number of unexcused absences that some of our scholars have, is to discourage that and to give us the opportunity to tie school attendance, especially in the case of excessive absences, to grade level promotion. So again, this is for a first read, so we can certainly discuss it and make any changes if you all deem necessary. Next is a school volunteer policy, and once again this is an addendum to an existing board policy where we've added a statement in red that reads, all costs associated with attaining a current background check must be absorbed by the volunteer. A current background check that is no older than 1 year is required for all new long-term volunteers. And the committee felt that that was necessary because oftentimes we do get volunteers who are bonded, insured, and have clear background checks, but we need those background checks to be no older than a year if we're going to accept them as volunteers. And that is the final item as of right now under our new business. Now there may be some additions to this, and I will certainly let you know what other areas may be included. If we do make any additions or deletions from this, I will certainly let you know. eBoards, as you're reading this, has been published, or Assembly has been published, and you can access the materials online, and you will also receive hard copies on the same day that you receive this, which should be Monday. A few reminders are in Assembly as well. So please take a look at those. We've got a family engagement meeting on February 24th. We've got pre-K registration night coming up on February 27th, and several other dates. Also want to be aware that the Census 2020 is coming up, and Team Selma is partnering with our local census workers to ensure that we are counted for Census 2020. The art night hosted by our special ed department will take place on March 31st, which was a huge success last year, so I'm excited about that event. And I believe that concludes our flipped work session. Looking forward to seeing you all at our board meeting, and as always, I'm a phone call away. If there's anything that I can clarify or any questions that I can answer ahead of time, then I absolutely would appreciate a phone call or a text. So until I see you, have a great day, and thank you for all you do.